Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Officially starting this meeting today. The first meeting for the Critical Readers Club, which was initially conceived some 6 or 7 months ago, but since I got too busy, the other members were busy, so we were not able to pay attention to this club. Although the essay discussion forum and the intellectual discussion forums have been quite active meanwhile, but the Critical Readers Club initially started somewhere in September 2019, and we have been working quite a lot during the last few weeks to make this meeting happen. First of all, I would like to mention a little bit of Critical Readers Club. As you all know, is basically the purpose is to develop the habit of critical reading among the students of the candidates of the competitive examinations. As I have mentioned in the introduction also, that since critical reading is such an important skill, and I have noticed that most of the important skills for CSS are the ones which are mostly absent in our general public. So as a teacher, it was my responsibility, duty to develop this skill also among the students. We do not get this opportunity when we are going through the CSS English courses. So that is why I thought that we will have to do something separately to inculcate this skill. This idea was very well supported by one of my very good student, Mr. Zaid Naveed. He was with us during the initial meetings of the intellectual group discussion forums also, the meetings that we have been holding in Lahore, physical meetings. Many of the members here are from that IGDF also. Basically I discussed this thing with Zaid Naveed that we need to develop this thing, and he has qualified for 2019, and nowadays he's waiting for his interviews to take place. Now when we started to reactivate, we realized that he said that he's currently busy with the interviews which are about to happen in a few weeks. They're CSS interviews, and so I had to go on to carry on without his contribution right now. But I do, of course, acknowledge the initial push that he gave, the contributions that he has been making throughout the in IGDF and here also in the beginning. So I hope that Zaid Naveed, as soon as you are free from your CSS interviews, you will be able to join once again, and we will be able to get your very energetic and zealous contribution in this club. So all of us, of course, wait for your return to the club. The initial idea is that we want to introduce and critically analyze some of the books which are important and relevant to CSS and PMS. So some of the books, I won't go into the list of the books which we want to cover here, but seeing this current book, Pakistan at the Crossroads by Christophe Jeffrelot, it's such a wonderful, such a phenomenal book. Although there are mixed opinions among people about this book also, but for what are there no mixed opinions? For everything there are certain, of course, some people agree with some opinions, some don't. And there are a number of books, other books also. I'm also thinking that we should include some research articles for review in this Critical Readers Club also. Maybe we'll be holding meetings for the books, and then sometimes for some good research articles which I want to take from various good journals like Journal of Strategic Studies. I'm basically training the students how to write a critique of a good research article, and then present that critical analysis here in this meeting, in the meetings here. Let's focus on the current meeting. You already know that, but I would like to repeat here how this club works. We basically form clusters of students which are led by some of the senior students. and then a cluster of something like 12, 14 to 20 people is formed, and they are distributed. We decide a book, and the chapters of that book are then distributed among the clusters. Then the cluster leader and the cluster group members, they analyze those chapters and prepare presentations which they will be presenting here today. This is the method this is collaborative learning. The idea is that all of you will not read this book fully, but if you attend these meetings, you will get the feel of, you will get everything that this book says. And thanks to the contribution and research of a lot of presenters today, and in the next meetings also, who have been working very hard during the last few weeks to bring all these things in front of you. This collaborative learning is quite useful, as you will realize in the coming weeks that not only are you able to read a good book, but you're also able to critically analyze the book's contents and its ideas and concepts presented therein. For today's session, I would like to mention that there are 3 sessions basically. First of all, right now, the introduction. And after that, we will be going into cluster 1, which will present their findings on some of the chapters of this book. This book has basically 2 parts. It has the first part deals with the domestic scene, which has 6 chapters, and the second part deals with the international dimensions about Pakistan. It has 5 chapters. Currently, today, cluster 1 will deal with chapter 1 and 2, and cluster 2 is going to present the analysis of chapters 3 and 4. We wanted to bring in cluster 3 also in today's meeting, but I think due to the restriction of time, it is going to take a little bit of time when these clusters present their analysis. So in this meeting today, 29th of March, we are holding the meeting for cluster 1 and cluster 2, chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next Sunday, same time, we will hold the meeting for clusters 3 and 4, presenting chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. And similarly, on the 12th of April, we're going to hold the next meeting in which the last chapters of this book will be presented. So it's like this: 2 clusters today, cluster 3 and 4 next time, cluster 5 and 6 after that. I hope you are going to benefit a lot from this this meeting, because what clusters are presenting, as I've heard them, there's a lot of intellectual stuff inside, a lot of information, a lot of very good analysis. I'm thankful to the cluster leaders and cluster members who have been working untiringly during the last few weeks. They have been holding their own meetings on Zoom, and separate. They have been exchanging notes with each other, and a lot of research has gone into making this meeting possible. I'm glad that all of you are taking advantage of this wonderful opportunity, and this platform which I provided. In the beginning, I was a little bit skeptical whether the students will participate in this or not. But it's very heartening to see that today we are about 91 of us are here, and more are also joining. I hope that this will be a great success in the future as well. My own efforts, have always been for developing the skills of the students in whatever way I can. I devote my time, my energies, and being a full-time teacher, not doing anything else, focusing only on CSS English, I have almost devoted my life to the development of this segment in Pakistan, the critical exam, the competitive examinations, and trying to contribute my little bit to the improvement of the skills and the mental capabilities and intellectual potential of our future generation. I hope Allah Ta'ala will accept my efforts and all of your efforts as well. Holding this meeting at this critical juncture in our global history is more important, I think, We are all struggling with a global war against something that we cannot see, an unknown enemy, and the whole world is consuming almost all of its resources. And probably this was possible only in times like this, to hold a meeting like this, when we have come to realize what is essential in life and what is not. Otherwise, we get so busy with our the rest of the things in our lives that we seldom get opportunity to pay attention to the what is essential, what is important. So, in any way, corona or no corona, we have got this opportunity to get together and listen to these wonderful analyses that these people are going to present. Of course, it is my privilege and honor to introduce today the clusters. I'm very glad to be at this position to introduce the people who have been working so hard on these things. Give me a few seconds, please. Okay, so as I said that I was introducing the sections of this meeting. First of all, we are going to deal with cluster one. Cluster one will make its presentation. After that, there is a questions answers session. You are supposed to take notes. Hurry up, get hold of paper and pen, and keep on taking notes. Now, do not believe that, do not think that you're going to get all of these notes in PDF format or just like that. It is their intellectual property. I have not yet consulted with these presenters. What do they want? Whether they want to give access to this this material or not. My contract with them is only up to presenting this in this meeting. Later on, of course, we are going to think about this, because I want to celebrate these people who have really worked very hard on this, and it is their intellectual property. They have a right to it. I would like to publish it also later on the internet, on one of the websites. And but right now, to take full advantage of this meeting, try to take notes, note down questions. They will be there to answer your questions also. We will be having question answer session after each cluster. When cluster one presents, there will be question answer session. Then we will take a short break for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then cluster two will start, which will be followed by the question answer session. So this is the another privilege that I have today, is to be addressing people from the whole of Pakistan. This is something which always excites me very much, that we have people here from all the provinces, all the major cities, all the areas, regions, remote areas, everywhere. And it is through the blessing of this internet and this Zoom video meeting that we are here together on one platform. Without much ado, I take you to the cluster one. So the Critical Thinkers Club presents today Pakistan at the Crossroads. A little bit of introduction from my side. A wonderful book, Domestic Dynamics and External Pressures. It is edited by Christophe Jeffrelot. Basically, it's this book is collection of articles which were presented in a conference, and there are separate authors for each and every article. Sometimes there are more than one author, and each article deals with a different aspect about Pakistan, the domestic dynamics and external pressures. The book is edited only by Christophe Jeffrelot. However, there is a wonderful introduction also in the beginning, which is quite remarkable in itself, in its own self. For the cluster one, this cluster is headed by Dr. Khadija Siddiq. Chapter 1 is about the military and democracy. The Chapter 2, the operational dynamics of political parties in Pakistan. There are several members who have participated in research for the notes, but who are not presenting today. Among them are Abdur Rahman, one of our old comrades in since the IGDF days, Adan Fatima, Arslan Afzal also was in IGDF, Faiza Khan, Shandana Saif, Tajammul Abbasi, and these notes and this research is presented by chapter 1 and part 1 is presented by Namira Siddique, and second part of this chapter is presented by Kamran Shah. Chapter 2, Dr. Khadija Siddiq is going to present herself. So this is the total cluster, which the overview of the cluster. Next, I would like to come to the individual presenters profile. These are the people who have really worked very hard on, based on the research done by these members and by these people also. Our from cluster 1, chapter 1 is being presented by the military and democracy by Namira Siddique, not Siddiqui, Siddiq. She's from Jhelum basically. She's a businesswoman. She's running her own business, has done BBA from Namal, Islamabad, and her interests include, other than her own studies, understanding how nature works and understanding motives behind actions. I had asked these people to present some of their interests other than their subjects, other than their studies, and they have come up with some of their interests. In cluster 1, we have the next section being presented by Sayyid Kamran Hussain Shah, who is from Hyderabad, Sindh. He is also a businessman, and he has done his bachelor's in electrical engineering from Islamabad. His interest is in research. He has already published a research paper, The Impact of Innovative Work Behavior on Strategic Management in Competitive Sector. Quite a remarkable research topic by itself. This is Sayyid Kamran Shah. You're going to listen to him in a short while, and Namira Siddiq also. And the chapter 2 is being presented by Dr. Khadija Siddiq, who is also the cluster leader. She is from Karachi and is currently doing house job. She did her MBBS from Dow Medical College, Karachi. Her interests include reading about history and politics. She is interested in research on social behaviors, and poetry and music, especially Sufi type of music, are her interests. So this is the introduction of cluster 1. And now I will hand over the meeting to cluster 1. Khadija Siddiq and Namira and Kamran, it's over to you with your presentation, please. Go ahead, please. Thank you. Namira, are you speaking? We can't hear you right now. Is your mic on?
Yes, sir. Now I just turned it on. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Namira Siddique and my group member is Mr. Kamran. We are going to be presenting chapter number 1, which is The Military and Democracy, from the book Pakistan at the Crossroads, edited by Christophe Jeffrelot. The chapter we are presenting is written by Akil Shah, who is the Vicary Assistant Professor of South Asian Politics in the Department of International and Area Studies at the University of Oklahoma, Norman. He has also written a book by the name of Army and Democracy, Military Politics in Pakistan. The topics we are going to be discussing are the author's point of view about a tale of controlled and no democracy time periods. We will also talk about civil-military relations and their impacts in the domestic and economic situation of Pakistan. There will also be hopes for strengthening of democracy, as we will see in the history of elections of 2002, 2008, and 2013. Finally, and most importantly, we will discuss the role of judiciary on the political horizon of Pakistan. While introducing this chapter, Akil Shah has asked two important questions, which will become the theme of this chapter. The first question is that why military was lured into the domestic politics in the first place. And the second question is that how military remained strong and maintained its hold in the civilian government even after leaving the politics. It is an established fact that almost half of the history of Pakistan is written in the general headquarters, which means that Pakistan's military has repeatedly intervened to arrest the democracy of Pakistan, ruling it for almost half of its existence. And even after departure, the military held the strings of government through, firstly, budget allocation. For example, 4.5% of Pakistan's GDP goes in the military without any accountability. And the second point is the national security. Here, the author does not just mean defense of the country. The author means that no policy in Pakistan can pass without the consent and agreement of the military. And then comes the intelligence gatherings. From now on, we will be moving deeper into the political history of Pakistan. We will go back to the birth of Pakistan. Since its inception, Pakistan has been facing a lot of problems. Migration of independence resulting in the destruction of equipment and industries by the Indians in Pakistan, which made the economy of Pakistan weak. And then there is the problem of poor government. The Muslim League, who was leading Pakistan, had weak social and organizational roots. And the most worrisome of all were the security issues. India had the concept of Akhand Bharat in its mind. Quaid-e-Azam suspected this and informed the Muslims that the Congress viewed the creation of Pakistan as a temporary recession of certain territories from India, which would soon be reabsorbed. Keeping in mind this warning of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, we can understand how Pakistan emerged as a warrior state, or the militarization of Pakistan. India, who had a desire for Akhand Bharat, waged a war in Kashmir. On the other hand was Afghanistan, who sadly could not accept the Durand Line and claimed the areas of northwest Pakistan, wanting a separate Pashtunistan. So Pakistan could only do one thing in the wake of these troublesome neighbors, which was to invest all of its state's few resources in the military. So Pakistan had to take care of defense as well as the development of Pakistan when it was only 1 year old. On the far side were the problems of East Pakistan, and there was a giant of India in between East and West Pakistan. Now we will jump a few years ahead, and we will see that Pakistan is now under its first martial law. General Ayub Khan introduced a controlled democracy which would be suited to the genius of Pakistani people. In the following years, the military had transformed from ex-colonial to national army. There were a lot of institutional development within the military because of investment and foreign aid. So what was happening between the East Pakistan and why did it separate in 1971 from the West Pakistan, becoming Bangladesh? The reason is that there were a lot of ethnic issues. For example, Urdu, which was only 7% spoken by the Pakistani people, was made the national language, and this resulted in the language movement. East Pakistan was also alienated by the looming threat of external powers which surrounded the West Pakistan. And the government, instead of using state-nation policies, which would accommodate the diversity between the two states, were using nation-state policies, which meant one unit West Pakistan against East Pakistan. Again, we will jump a few years ahead, and we will see that Pakistan is again under a martial law, this time imposed by General Zia-ul-Haq. He had transformed the 1973 constitution, in which Article 58(b) had made the president strong and weakened the prime minister. Now the president could appoint chief of army staff, and the president could sack civilian governments. After General Zia-ul-Haq died in a plane crash in 1988, the military separated itself from the government, but in the following years, it toppled 3 elected governments, namely those of Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif. The major reason for this was that they had challenged the military's prerogatives. In 1997, Nawaz Sharif again became prime minister, and he again challenged the military's prerogatives, which resulted when he tried to fire an army general, he was overthrown by that same general. Before moving into the story of Pervez Musharraf, the author has answered part of the question, and the answer lies in the difference of structures between the military government, which was weak, and the military institution, which was strong. Both were connected through the top, but the military institution had no direct role in the military government. This was because all of the military institutions' attentions were focused upon India. So here lies the answer that India was surprisingly the reason why Pakistan's military was insulated against the deeds of military government. And the second answer lies in the military's prerogatives, which no other entity could contest. Pervez Musharraf was a dictator to remember. Among his many reforms, he created a military-dominated National Security Council. He also started the accountability of opponents, especially the PMLN. And he initiated a slow and gradual political liberalization. For example, he relaxed the curbs of civil liberties and allowed a free media. This also had consequences. He also made it a rule that no party could rule twice, which ruled out PPP and PMLN governments. An important event occurred in the time of Pervez Musharraf, which was that of 9/11. Washington had waged war in Afghanistan because some terrorists had attacked the Pentagon. So Washington asked for the Pakistan's army's help and in return supplied F-16 fighter jets and billions of dollars to the Pakistan's military. This had domestic consequences within Pakistan because it reinforced the Praetorian propensity of the military. So now the military could abuse its powers more because it was boosted. And after 9/11, in the outside world, US occupied Afghanistan and Pakistan became its frontline ally once again. The events after this are going to be presented by Mr. Kamran. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. This is Kamran Shah, and from now on, I'll be presenting.
Sorry, Kamran, we can't hear you. Sorry, we can't hear you. Excuse me, Kamran, we can't hear you. There is some problem with your mic. Kamran Shah, can you hear me? There is some problem with your mic. It is muted. Uske aage finger aa gayi or something like that. We can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes, Kamran.
Yes, sir. I think
there is a problem with your mic. आवाज आ जा रही है बार-बार.
Thank you. Okay, so we were discussing that previous military regimes have their certain prerogatives. However, I believe that Musharraf's regime is the most important one. The reason is because this is the time where country actually moved towards somehow some certain kind of democracy, if I can put it that way. The very first thing when Musharraf came into the power, he knew that he cannot survive just as a military dictator. So he has to get a legitimacy under democratic principles. The very first thing he did is on April 2002, he conducted a presidential referendum. You can clearly see that I have written fraudulent referendum in the slide. The reason is that first of all, it was unconstitutional. You cannot select a president directly through voters. Second of all, a report published in Dawn showed that there was a 70% turnover of the voters. However, in result, it was shown that Musharraf won by more than 98% votes. So it also bears a question mark in itself. So, and there was so much opposition from the civilian section as well. So in the next step, what Musharraf did, that he conducted elections on October 2002. Those elections were also tagged as manipulated. The reason is, as Namira has discussed, that Musharraf has introduced a certain clause in the constitution in which a person who has been elected twice for the prime minister office cannot be elected for the third time. So this has barred the most prominent opposition, Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif, for contesting for the elections. So this was also not a legitimate election. The third and the most important event of Musharraf's regime is that he revived Zia's constitution. As we have seen in the previous slide, that there was an article called 58(2)(b). That article is actually gives power to the president to sack a civilian government. So Musharraf has revived that article through inducing 17th Amendment. Since his party has power in center and provincial governments, so he has induced this amendment unanimously. Now, when Musharraf was sitting in his office thinking that he has taken care all of his opposition, he didn't knew that there is another institution of the state which is actually grooming and eventually will become the reason of end his rule. That institution is judiciary, a looming threat for Musharraf. We know that so far, judiciary has been a staunch supporter of dictators, legitimizing their rule. Even in Musharraf's era, the doctrine of necessity given by Musharraf was authenticated by Iftikhar Muhammad Chaudhry himself. But in 2005, when he became the Chief Justice of Pakistan, he started hearing cases related to public welfare, like the cases related to commodity prices, corruption, and disappearances cases. Now, these cases were directly or indirectly related to Musharraf's rule. So Musharraf was realizing that eventually this will become a threat to his rule. So what he did in 2007, he tried to fire Chief Justice of Pakistan. However, this step backfired when there was a huge opposition from the Supreme Court Bar Council and from the opposition parties. So eventually, Chief Justice was restored to his old position. Now, Musharraf knew that he is no more a popular leader. He do not have a popular support, and he cannot rule like that. So he needed some support from the opposition. He cannot go to Nawaz Sharif since he has sacked his government in 1999 and put him into exile. So he went to Benazir Bhutto, another popular leader of Pakistan People's Party. And Benazir Bhutto agreed to give him her support in condition that, first of all, he will remove the corruption charges on her and her husband Asif Ali Zardari. And second, that he will remove that clause of electing third time, as which bars a person to elect third time for the Prime Minister office. Although he didn't remove the clause when he was elected as a president in 2007. But he didn't knew that if Muhammad Chaudhry was opposing his president, he cannot rule as a uniformed personnel. Also, he was opposing the NRO given to the corrupt politicians. So, since he could do anything about it, so he imposed an emergency in November 2007. But as we have discussed, he was no popular leader. So eventually, due to internal pressure from political parties, from academics, students, even from the global powers, and from the military institution itself, he has left his office and army withdrew from political environment. Moving forward, 2008 elections. Now let's stop here. Let's look at this picture. We all know him very well. And those who do not know him, he is Asif Ali Zardari, husband of Benazir Bhutto, and ex-president of Pakistan from 2008 to 2013. Look at his beautiful smile. This smile does not only signifies the victory of Pakistan People's Party in the elections, but this also signifies the victory of democracy, because this is the time where the whole history is going to change. The country is slowly getting back on the track of democracy. What happened in this time when when PPP made its government, he abolished all the institutions by Musharraf, also restored constitution to its original position. Now, if you think about it, the 33 years rule of military, such an strong institution, how just a mere an opposition from a civilian section can make it go away, make it leave the political environment? So the reason is, this is not only because of the opposition from the civilian or the external powers. The military institution itself stopped its support to Musharraf's government. The reason is there was an opposition in the junior staff of in the junior officer wing, because the military in the history, military was actually fighting for power, but now military has started fighting for its prestige. General Ashfaq Parvez Kiani became the chief of army staff, and he started working by separating military from the government. How he did it? Why he did it? We have discussed that because there was an opposition from the civilian, and the prestige of military institution was suffering. Now, this does not mean the military removed him itself completely from the political environment. General Ashfaq Parvez Kiani has been noted using the term bridge of democracy often when he, in the times of Pakistan People's Party's government. Now, the bridge of democracy, what he means by that is that whenever the bridge of democracy is hurt, the military will come and repair the bridge and then get back. Now, this was the new prerogative of military, that it is not directly involved in the politics, but it has some influence in the political situation of Pakistan. Example is the -1 formula given by Ashfaq Parvez Kiani in the government of Pakistan People's Party, when there was a chaos in the political environment, when PPP was reluctant to set free Chief Justice of Pakistan because he was opposing the NRO. Ashfaq Parvez Kiani proposed that he is going to introduce a -1 formula in which the Asif Ali Zardari will be removed, and all other institutions of political situation of Pakistan will remain same. Moving forward, now, even though it was a purely legitimate democratic civilian government, so why did it let military involve in its governance? The reason is that when PPP government came into power, it has faced certain problems. First of all, economic crisis, severe food crisis was there, energy crisis were there. Second is ethnic conflict and Taliban insurgency. At the time of Musharraf, the war on terror was going on in Afghanistan. This has increased the Taliban insurgency in the tribal belt of Pakistan. There was highly military spending. Obviously, the security, all the foreign policy of Pakistan is revolving around the security condition even now. So there was a huge military spending. There were low tax evasions, high debt, and poverty. Now let's come to 2013 election. This was also a very significant event of Pakistan because for the first time there was a democratic turnover between two civilian governments. Although there was an opposition that it was the election was rigged, but the Election Commission of Pakistan published a report in which they said that although it was a free and fair election. Now you can see there was also involvement of military in Nawaz Sharif's regimes as well. The reason is when Nawaz Sharif came into the power, he wanted to restore relationship with India. So his government was going to give the title of the most suitable state to India, in which the army involved, saying that they cannot do it because of the security condition, especially because of the Kashmir issue. The only issue which is also a hurdle in Pakistan foreign policy somehow. So far we have discussed about the reasons how military came and go and how their prerogatives evolved and how there was a transition from an authoritarian rule towards a democracy. Now we'll analyze the military institution itself. Throughout the military was actually evolving. The military want to increase its internal control over the political and the policy matters. That since the whole Pakistan was dominated by the security issues, so the military wants its dominance in the policy making. Even it's about the budget, even it's about the trade, military was everywhere. Budget allocation, as I have discussed, that although this particular thing is under the Ministry of Defense, but the most prominent figures are actually held by the army officers retired or on duty. So this is also how army get involved in military, in civilian government. Trade policies, we have discussed that how it always barred the trade policies with India with the notion of Kashmir issue. Another example is Kerry Lugar Bill, which was a $1.5 billion given to Pakistan in the tenure of 2010 to 2014. This was a purely non-military aid, so military also opposed it. the very basic reason of this, that it was a non-military aid. As the head of the military institution is selected by the Prime Minister by the right of the Constitution. However, the pool throughout the pool of the candidates are given by the Chief of Army Staff himself. Example is Parvez Ashwakiani, who extended his own tenure when he was in power. Pakistan ISI, which was a significant institution in the times of war on terror, it's actually responsible to the Prime Minister, but it has strongly become militarized because of its role in war on terror. Now, we have discussed about the core elements of military institution. The military institution still lacked in some of the events. The very first of event was 2011 when Osama bin Laden was killed. It clearly shows that there was a mishap of information of ISI, which hold a military accountable. However, military bypassed it by saying that it was not the issue that how military bypass information. The issue is that why US get involved and violated territorial integrity of a friendly state. Then also there was influence of military institutions in the media. The two examples is Salim Shahzad and Hamid Mir cases. Salim Shahzad, who raised his voice in the wake of the attack on Karachi port. He was tortured. He was abducted. Also, the Hamid Mir, he is a prominent anchor of GOTV. He interviewed that he is constantly getting threats from the ISI related to certain sensitive information. This also that there was several high human rights violation in the wake of war on terror. People were getting disappeared, trial, and there was no complete rule of law because the military was not accountable. Now, this whole scenario makes military super legal. Super legal means that every institution by spirit should be accountable to the rule of law, but military was not. It has its own courts. Its personnel cannot be tried by the civilian court. The example is when Musharraf was impeached with treason case. He was given safe passage by the military. Even in the most high-profile case of Benazir assassination, it was a report published by United Nations investigation team that the evidence was removed within 2 hours by the orders of a very prominent Major General of the Army. As I said, it is not answerable to the Supreme Court. So in conclusion, when we have started the presentation, we try to answer the questions of author in which that how military got involved, how much it hurt the democracy, what are the political situations, the controlled democracy or no democracy. All those questions, I would like to answer that throughout we have discussed that military got involved just because of the reason that there was a vacuum created by the political institution itself. There was an opposition in the political parties which created vacuum for the military to get involved. Also, after getting backtrack to the democracy, there was no true democracy. The reason is because the political parties were continuously criticizing with each other, and there was no political unity between them. So, in conclusion, we can say that military prerogatives are not the only hurdle to democracy. The hurdle to democracy, the main hurdle to democracy, is the disunity in the civilian government. So, we should have it. There should be unity between the political parties, and there should be national unity among the civilian masses. Yes, election and democratic turnovers provide opportunities for Pakistan. This is usually seen in Pakistan whenever there is a civilian government, even it is usually tagged with rigged elections. Although the protest is democratic right of every individual, but the main aim of the protest is not just to make the topics controversial, but just to make things which are good and better for the state itself. Thank you so much. This will be it. Thank you so much for being patient. You were such a nice audience. And I will end it by thanking Dr. Arif Javed. Thank you so much, sir, for this platform. I will end my presentation. Thank you so much.
You are more than welcome, every one of you. Thank you very much, Namira. Thank you very much, Kamran Shah. It was wonderful. I really enjoyed listening to both of you, especially when there was that mention of smile on Asif Zardari's face. We all know that smile was due to several other reasons also. Okay. Um, Questions. I am sure that most of you have been taking a lot of notes. And we are going to take the question answers chapter wise, not cluster wise. Initially, I said cluster wise, it's chapter wise. So in this chapter, if you people find that there have been any questions that you want to ask, please go ahead. Zainab is asking if we. So Zainab is asking, strategic culture is strong in Pakistan. Military is invited by civilian themselves. How a system can run without military intervention? Who will answer this, Namira or Kamran? Okay. You may unmute yourself, Namira or Kamran, and answer this, please.
So I would like to answer this question. The question is that how can a civilian government survive without involvement?
Your mic is not clear.
Is it clear now?
There is some problem. I don't know what's wrong. Okay.
Is it clear now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so the question is that how military is always involved in civil government. How can we reduce this influence? The reason is if we be practical. The whole foreign policy of Pakistan is actually oriented around the security conditions of Pakistan. We have an Indian threat always with us. Even in the even we can see that there's an issue of Kashmir going on. So constantly we have been, there was Pulwama, there was Uri attacks. So constantly we are involved in security conditions. So our whole foreign policy is actually around it. So that's why we cannot exclude military. Military will involve in our foreign policy and policy making until unless there is a change in our foreign policy. If there is no security issues, then military will not get involved in policy making. Otherwise, military is and will remain involved in policy making of Pakistan.
Okay, Kamran, thank you very much. If you want to ask any questions, please type them in chat, and I will convey them to these two presenters. Okay, one of the members from this Batul is asking, what is the difference between nation-state policy and state-nation policy? So have these things, have these terms been used in this presentation, or you're asking just for your own knowledge?
Yes, sir. These terms have been used.
Okay.
State-nation policies means that we are making the state at the top priority, which means that if we use state-nation policies, we can accommodate diversity. As it was seen that Pakistan has many diverse cultures. There are Sindhis, the Balochis, the Punjabis, and Bangladesh has the Bengalis. So if we used state-nation policies, it would mean that we will take care of all of these diverse cultures, and we will accommodate this diversity. We used nation-state policies, which meant that we used war against Bengali people. We used our guns against the Bengali people. We wanted to forcefully integrate Bengali into the one unit of West Pakistan, to combine the whole of East and West Pakistan. So we used nation-state policies, which was one unit, West Pakistan against East Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you, Namira, for your answer. And next, we have a very interesting question from Ayman Mirza. It's a very relevant question also. And since It's coming from a doctor, Dr. Ayman Mirza. Thank you for your question, Ayman. The question is, in the ambit of biological warfare, does the role of military still stay significant? Does the role of military still stay significant? Namira or Kamran, would you like to answer? I can answer this question. I would like to answer this myself. Kamran, do you think you would like to? We can't hear you. Kamran, we can't hear you.
First, please, sir.
Yes. Okay. Ayman, the question is, of course, relevant in the current situation very much. You see, I myself termed this coronavirus thing globally as a warfare. The humanity is at war right now, but not with a known enemy, not with a recognized one, but with an unknown enemy. The point is that the military happens to be the only organization in any country which is equipped with the strategies and the methods of combating enemies. So, okay. So the basic modus operandi, I would say, is to be provided by the military. However, in this case, when the enemy, the type of enemy has changed, it is biological rather than physical one. Of course, the front line warriors in this kind of warfare is not military anymore. It is basically the medical staff, the doctors and the paramedic staff. So they become the army, the military, which is going to fight with this in this kind of warfare. So everything depends upon the medical teams right now, rather than on the military. So military's role does not become totally insignificant. Their role is to provide the support to the frontline warriors right now. Since military is the most mobile and the most efficient in resource mobilization organization, so that is why military is the only organization that is in a position to provide the best support to the medical staff in fighting this type of war. So that is why the role of military is still significant. However, for the first time in Pakistan's history, and for the first time in history of mankind also, or these many nations also, people have come to realize how important it is to equip your hospitals also as much as it is important to equip our arsenal. So this is a major question which the world is asking itself. When we compare the number of ventilators in our hospitals to the number of tanks and the fighter jets that we have in Pakistan. Of course, so far the threat has been mostly external, so the military has been getting all these funds for that. And now that the frontiers have changed, so definitely the focus for expenditure has also shifted to spending elsewhere. I hope this answers your questions. So as far as the relevance of the military is concerned, it is still there very much, but not in the central position. Okay, next question, please. Fariha Jadoon, why we involve military in current situation? I have already answered this. Because of the resources that the military has, no other organization in the country has these many, especially sources of mobilization and the and organization by itself. The rest of the organizations are mostly split into provincial and federal, whereas this is the only organization which can operate throughout the country with equal ease and facility. Ghulam Abbas, how to deal with the failure of those institutions which allowed military to interfere in state and policy making of the country? Good question. Kamran, Namira, would you like to focus on this? Kamran, I think it's your area. how to deal with the failure of those institutions which allowed military to interfere in state and policy making of country. I think Namira started this. Which, any one of you two, please go ahead. You will have to unmute yourself. The moment I allow you to unmute, everybody else also starts. Kamran or Namira, you can unmute yourself now.
Yes, sir. Am I clear?
Yes. We can't hear you.
I think. Hello, sir. Is my voice clear?
Start talking, yes, sir, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, the question is that how can we cope up with the failures which actually created vacuum for military to get involved in politics? Actually, I have given the solution in the conclusion. That it was because of the lack of national unity between the political parties. Every political party is following its own personal agenda. A question by Sundar Batul about state nation and nation state. In state nation in state nation theory, state comes first and then your national identity, that you should do something for the betterment of your state and then you should think about your ethnic identity. So this is not happening in Pakistan. If you see that there is disunity based on languages, there's disunity based on your political preferences. So just because if the ideology of the political parties are not same, this is the only reason which paves the way for military to get involved in our country. Take an example of security issues of Pakistan, that we want to solve the security issues of Pakistan with India, but since whenever we raise this issue, there have been some opposition, not productive opposition, I would say. There are some examples of that. Okay, so we can, if there's a political unity between the political parties, we can solve the security issues, and eventually it will help us to reduce the influence of military in our politics. Thank you.
Kamran, thank you very much for your very good answer. That was quite a comprehensive answer. Thank you. Zawar has the next question. My concern is about the development of Pakistan, as every country is shifting towards its economic strength, and it's a fact. Before this question, there was another question which I overlooked earlier, which I want to go back to. Kifayatullah was asking, Kamran said during its presentation that Kashmir is a hurdle in foreign policy. These are the wordings of Kamran, not Kamran. These are the things which are basically, these presenters have continuously been referring to the author, Aqil Shah, that these are basically the views presented by that. Wasidullah Muhammad asked a very good question. If it is due to India and security issue, then India should have martial law too. Why only in Pakistan? This is one question which I wanted to raise myself also, that why is there always martial law in Pakistan only? If security is an issue and if India is a threat, we are a threat to India also. Then why no martial law in India? Why here only? Kamran, are you in a position to reply? Namira, yes.
Okay, if any one of you wants to answer that, that's fine. Otherwise, I would love to answer that.
Khadija, I would like you to answer that, please.
Okay, sir. So basically, my next chapter would basically focus उसका ये होगा कि हमने किस तरह से आर्मी को या forces को या military को या defense को आने दिया. It's not only the military, it's all the departments associated with army and military. इसके ऊपर अगर 5th या 6th स्लाइड थी कामरान नमीरा की प्रेजेंटेशन में, द मिलिटराइजेशन ऑफ पाकिस्तान. एक्चुअली इशू हमारे साथ ये हुआ कि जब हम वजूद में आए तो हमारे पास 15 से 16 मेजर इश्यूज थे उस टाइम. we were totally in shambles. A number of जो मेरे पास किताबें मैंने आज तक रीड की हैं, उन सब में ही बड़ा क्लियर डिफरेंस था कि इंडिया स्टूड ऑन अ वे ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्गर पोजीशन पे, स्ट्रेटेजिकली, पॉलिटिकली, इकोनॉमिकली, हर तरीके से पाकिस्तान से बेहतर था। इसके अलावा इंडिया के पास एक सोच भी थी, एक ऐसी नेशन ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्ट करती थी जो रिलीजियसली भी यूनाइटेड थी और वो डिवाइडेड नहीं थी। बट वेंस ये एक बड़ा, मैं नाम नहीं लूंगी क्योंकि अब ऑब्वियसली हम लोग किताब एक और डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, लेकिन मेरे पास एक और किताब का बड़ा रिटन रेफरेंस है कि जब पाकिस्तान वजूद में आया तो वो एक नेशन नहीं थी, वो सिर्फ डिवाइडेड किस्म के सूबे थे जिन्हें एक जगह इकट्ठा करके रख दिया था, और अब उन्हें समझ नहीं आ रहा था कि हमने चलना कैसे है।
Can we have this reference, please? Can we have this reference, please? It's useful.
नहीं, आयान टेलबॉर्ट की किताब है पाकिस्तान मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री, एंड सिमिलरली वीना कुकरीजा की भी एक किताब है, मुझे उसका एग्जैक्ट नाम नहीं याद, उसमें श्रीलंका, इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान को कंपेयर किया हुआ है। तो उसके अंदर भी उसने एग्जैक्टली ये कहा था कि क्योंकि पाकिस्तान की क्रिएशन ही इस तरह की हुई है कि एक तो उसके पास स्ट्रेटेजिक डेफिसिट बहुत ज्यादा था, उसके अलावा उनकी एक आइडियोलॉजी इस तरह की थी कि वो जो पॉलिटिकल पार्टी उस टाइम मुस्लिम लीग थी भी, उसको सिर्फ एक वो करनी आती थी, लाइक एक मूवमेंट चलानी आती थी, उसको गवर्नेंस करनी नहीं आती थी। जबकि बहुत सारे जो इंडिया जब वजूद में आया तो इसके बहुत ज्यादा लोगों को गवर्नेंस भी आती थी, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन भी आती थी, और उन्होंने मिलिट्री को एक मकाम पे रखा था। मोर ओवर पाकिस्तान का एक मसला है कि पाकिस्तान इंडिया से छोटा भी बहुत ज्यादा है, पाकिस्तान के पास स्ट्रेटेजिक डेप्थ भी नहीं है, इसीलिए जो सेम मसला होता है वो पाकिस्तान पे उसका इफेक्ट एम्पलीफाइड बहुत ज्यादा होता है एज कंपेयर टू इंडिया। मोर ओवर इंडिया ने अपनी हर इंस्टीट्यूशन के ऊपर वर्क किया, हमने नहीं किया, हमने सिर्फ आर्मी को सपोर्ट किया, सिर्फ मिलिट्री को प्रमोट किया। अगर आपका एक डिक्टेटर इन द ईयर 1962 खड़ा होकर ये कह सकता है कि ये नेशन इस काबिल नहीं है कि इसको डेमोक्रेसी दी जाए, तो उसके बारे में इंटरनेशनल ऑथर्स ने ये सवाल खड़ा किया कि ये एक मिलिट्री डिक्टेटर है, और ये मतलब 1947 से शुरू में इसकी अपनी इंडिया से अपनी पूरी लेकर आया है अपना थॉट प्रोसेस। तो हम इससे ये पूछना चाहते हैं कि क्या ये नेशन इस काबिल है कि ये एक जंग करके ये एक मुल्क तो हासिल कर सकती है लेकिन उस मुल्क को चला नहीं सकती। तो बेसिकली दिस इज द थिंग कि हमने मिलिट्री को प्रमोट किया और मिलिट्री ने हमें प्रमोट नहीं किया, उसने हमें हमेशा सप्रेस किया। उसने सिविलियन लीडर्स के मुंह पर आके कहा कि आप लोग गद्दार हैं, आप लोग झूठे हैं, आप लोग ये हैं, आप लोग वो हैं। एंड द थर्ड थिंग इज दिस, हमारे सियासतदानों में यूनिटी भी नहीं है। If we talk about India, if we talk about even if we talk in the middle of the army का एक जर्नल है जिसके ऊपर आर्टिकल 6 लगा के उन्होंने उसको बाहर फेंकने की कोशिश की, पूरी की पूरी आर्मी खड़ी हो गई कि आप हमारे जर्नल को बाहर नहीं फेंक सकते। What about the सियासतदान जो यहाँ पे हैं, आपकी जो मेजर पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज हैं वही डिवाइडेड है।
Okay.
So basically this is the whole scenario जिसमें इंडिया ने प्रिवेल किया और पाकिस्तान पीछे चला गया।
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Khadija, for your comprehensive answer. I'll take one more question. Muhammad David Iqbal had asked, we all know that the 2013 election is rigged. Why there is no accountability? I would like to answer this, that the accountability, that is not too fair in Pakistan, and it is very much directed. So since everything is not fair, so by fair I mean that if we talk that accountability should have been done against every unfair thing that has been done, then there are a lot of things which NAB has not touched. So 2013 election remains one of those. Election Commission की तो कोई भी, for that matter, जो चीजें हैं वो accountability के ambit में नहीं आई. One last question that we have seen here before we move on to chapter 2. We are short of time now. A very good question by Isa. What are the main strategies that are required now to completely eliminate the political role of military in Pakistan? Completely eliminate, he is asking. Can anybody answer, any one of you three, please?
Sorry sir, आपकी आवाज कट गई थी बीच में। Completely eliminate what? Sorry.
Eliminate the political role of military in Pakistan.
How can we do that?
Yes.
Is that the question?
What are the main strategies that are required now to completely eliminate the political role of military in Pakistan?
सर आई डोंट थिंक सो कि ये कभी खत्म होगा, बिकॉज हर जो कंट्री होती है उसका एक स्टेचर होता है. एवरी कंट्री हैज अ स्टेचर, और पाकिस्तान का स्टेचर अब ये आ चुका है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल नाउ, ऑल्दो 2008 से पाकिस्तान एक डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री है, लेकिन दुनिया की बड़ी बड़ी रिसर्च इंडस्ट्री जो रिसर्च करते हैं उन्होंने पाकिस्तान को प्राइटोरियन डेमोक्रेसी या हार्डलाइन ऑटोक्रेटिक डेमोक्रेसी मानना शुरू कर दिया है. सो बेसिकली हाँ, अगर हम लोग यूटोपियन आइडियाज की बात करना शुरू कर दें यहाँ पे, तो अगर कभी हमारे जो सियासतदान हैं, इफ दे इवेंचुअली अंडरस्टैंड, फॉर एग्जांपल वन एग्जांपल लाइक इमरान खान, इफ ही वुड एवर अंडरस्टैंड दैट ही हैड बीन बैडली यूज्ड बाय द एस्टेब्लिशमेंट, तो शायद फिर ये हो सकता है कि जैसे बीच में एक चार्टर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी साइन किया था नवाज शरीफ ने और पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी ने, तो उस तरह का कुछ हो और जो चलता रहे और पूरी की पूरी कौम मुत्तहिद हो के ये फैसला कर ले कि कुछ भी हो जाए, कितनी गलत से गलत डेमोक्रेसी भी हो, हमने मिलिट्री को आने देना ही नहीं है. तो फिर बेसिकली शायद ये हो सकता है. आपको शायद पता ना हो, मैं तो मिलिट्री एरिया में रहती हूँ. जब ज़रब अज़्ब शुरू हुआ था, सो आई लिटरली सॉ मलीर कैंट के अंदर और कराची में जगह जगह उन्होंने लिख के लगाया था कि हम चाहते हैं कि वो जो उस टाइम जनरल था, आई कैन नॉट रिकॉल हिज नेम नाउ, कि वो आ जाए, कि ही टेक्स ओवर. एंड देन पाकिस्तान तहरीक इंसाफ, इमरान खान हिमसेल्फ हैज सेड कि मैं तीसरी एम्पायर का इंतजार कर रहा हूँ. व्हाट इज दैट? बेसिकली हमें ये एलिमिनेट करना पड़ेगा, हमें अपनी नेशन से चीफ को एलिमिनेट करना पड़ेगा, एंड ओनली देन वी कैन.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. That was a good answer. I will not be able to take any more questions, please, because we still have a whole cluster and then a chapter 2 for this also.